yo, we were ready to move. Then boom, the pandemic hit. Everybody was like, wait and see. Let's wait and see.
We had to call everybody together, and we had to call for emergency meeting, and we took very difficult decisions. And among them was, of course, to lay off some of the team.
People sacrificed so that we laid no one off. No one had pay cuts, nothing.
The first opportunity is about seeing the market clearly. So everything was quiet. So it was, in other hand, it was easy to put yourself in quiet place, let me call that, and see the market, how is it.
Thanks to COVID that I made that pivot, because during that year, it was like everything came to a standstill. So everyone got a chance to just stop whatever they were doing and reflect on what they were doing, what they would do next.
The pandemic started and we just went full blown.
With COVID, we start growing so fast, and we pivot our business model. We change our business model.
Challenge, lockdown. Opportunity, the lockdown, as we were not working, it gave us enough time to rethink the entire business model, rethink some of the weaknesses we had, reevaluate ourselves, and we came back stronger. And I can tell you, we are still here.
We had to make some changes due to the pandemic, and it opened our eyes to other changes that we might want to make just for improved service or better efficiency. So we've grown a lot, but the core of what we've been trying to do at Redbird didn't shift that much in the end. Chronic disease is exploding as a huge health burden, and that's going to change a lot of things. It's going to mean what we're doing today isn't going to cut it if we want to give people the health care that they deserve. And so we see this addressing the problems of today and tomorrow.
For us, it's even more incredible that we are here post-pandemic. We were in the middle of raising our seed round. It was a tough period because just when you're about crossing that, now people are like, okay, pandemic, investors are looking at what they need to do. How can we look at that? Credit to our CEO, like he guided the team, like really through it. Once the lockdown went off, like we were able to like rescale back to pre-pandemic levels, and that gave a lot of investors also confidence on like the things that we did. People sacrificed so that we laid no one off. It was tough. Like, I mean, we sit here today, happy, expanded team, but those were tough periods for the organization.
There were growth decisions or investment decisions. Pharmacies themselves have challenges with COVID. Does this model work in an ongoing pandemic? I don't think we were ever pushed to the point where we were like, you know, we have to radically change the core business while in the middle of a pandemic.
We have seen opportunities in that year of 2020, and more people have been more inspired about using wireless electricity because of COVID-19. So we have to go without touching everywhere.
The pandemic, I didn't even think this time would come. But some of the expectations, I mean, there was a time before the pandemic, I should say January 2020. I honestly thought that, hey, by the end of 2021, we shall have hit 500,000 users. We shall have raised this much money. We shall be employing at least 40 people. We shall be having, we shall be in different countries, maybe in Zambia and where we thought all those expectations were there. But we got humbled and we came back to reality. And here we are in phase 2 of the pandemic. We're not in another country and shit happened. We bootstrapped. We've bootstrapped throughout 2020. We're bootstrapping throughout 2021. And the hope has reduced slightly of raising investment, which is which is not a good sign for us. So one of the things we did was sit down with these guys and tell them, hey guys, if we all still need a job and we still need a small source of income to survive on, can we agree on some of the things, like take half the salary we're taking, cut off some of the allowances we're having, some of the luxuries we were having. But also most importantly, because people were taking half salary, we said, okay, we're going to make people work from home.
During that year, it was like everything came to a standstill. And I was already in a previous startup where I was doing events and things like that. And I said, well, no one is going to any events anymore. And now I'm at home with the kids. I'm blogging, but I feel I'm supposed to do something more than this. And then I realized that there was this gap where there was no parenting app in Ghana. And this was 2020. And people have been parents for years. And elsewhere, there are apps like that. For a lot of moms that I know, once they find out they're pregnant, the first thing they do is download an app that would guide them. So I said, we need something that is relevant to our setting that we can relate to. So then again, I went to my husband again and I discussed, and he was like, is there really a market for this? Is there a need? And I said, yes, there is. Just because I was getting tons of questions in my DMs. And they could have gone online to go and read, but it was like they wanted something that was relatable. So I realized, okay, in order to scale, I needed to have an app because I couldn't answer that many questions every day. I also have kids. And then I'm not an expert. You see, I'm just a mom who I would say that lots of the information I share is evidence-based because it's things I do with my kids. However, I needed experts to come on board to also come and help blog. So I needed to have gynecologists, speech and language therapists, pediatricians, dentists and all that on board so that it's not just what I'm saying, but you also have expert advice as well. So that's really how the app came about.
Hi, my name is Yotimogen Etaga and I'm the founder at Great. At Great, we're focused on technologies that help improve the cold chain space, targeting two sectors, healthcare and agriculture, building technology to help them store produce and also monitor them in real time. Yeah, there were a lot of difficult decisions at first. First, when the pandemic hit, nobody knew how long it was going to last. And at that time, the news, there was a lot of scary stories on the news. I think when you look at Africa as a whole, I think the startup ecosystem are solving some very critical problems. And a friend of mine asked me a couple of days ago, he asked, did the Lord reveal to me in a dream that the pandemic would happen? And I told him, look, I was actually building for agriculture, right? And then we started to see verticals. And like I said, we listen to customers every day. We take feedback. That's like the most important thing in this business. Taking feedback from the customers and adopting it. And we try to build that culture into everybody that works here. I think when we had the pandemic, I think we're just one of the people that were prepared for it, but also we did go through some tough times during the pandemic and we listened to the customers at that time again, and then that helped us produce a different product. So we developed a second product during the pandemic, and I think that was one of the things that really did well for the fourth quarter of last year. I think the principles of running a startup basically has been to always run lean. And yes, the pandemic taught everybody how to run lean. So I think startups have been running this model for a while, and I think, yeah, the pandemic did show that how you should run a startup. People said the pandemic was going to end 2022. Nobody knew how long, so everybody just had to, buckle their belts and then ensure that, they were going as lean as possible. So yes, we did take some measures to kind of ensure the continuity of the business at that point in time. But with fourth quarter, we were able to, kind of bounce back, and then we were able to compensate people for the cuts that they sacrificed, during the pandemic. So yeah, we did have to make some decisions at that point in time that were quite uncomfortable, but were necessary for the continuity of the business. Yeah, I think one of the major things was we had to go on full remote work, which was something we're not accustomed to. We had been testing it out. You see that in places like Nigeria, 20% of the population do not have access to vaccines. The major cause of this is actually due to the lack of supporting infrastructure for distribution, and that's where we come in. We try to build technologies that are immune to the infrastructural challenges in this market to ensure effective storage of temperature-controlled products. I'm quite confident that in the nearest future, Greek will become a global company. And why I think this is because I don't think the problems that we're trying to solve are unique to Nigeria or Africa or only developing countries. I think they're present, even in advanced countries. And COVID-19 has shown us that, especially with the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. So I think that our products would be globally acceptable because they solve global problems. Yes, I do think it changed. I do think people started to see an opportunity where they didn't see an opportunity in the past. And I also think that people are aware that going forward, looking at data as well, it suggests that the globe is going to change as regards how business is done, about the requirements from different organizations as well. So yes, I do think that there are a lot of opportunities now simply based on the funding. I mean, if you look at some of the funding that even comes from government, non-government organizations, development agencies, their funds now really just focused on the cold chain space, focused on the vaccine delivery, strengthening logistics, strengthening solar refrigeration, solar powers as well, basically just to ensure that people get access to the vaccine.
All aspects of life, from social to finance to security, everything is moving to digital. The fourth industrial revolution, we are in it as we speak.
Due to the pandemic, most companies are now remote. Talents in Africa now work in companies all over the world. In America, the pandemic have allowed African talents to explore the alternatives of getting employment. PayDeApp came in to help these employees to get their money from their global companies, make it easier for them to receive payment for the services they are rendering.
The pandemic for us at eCampus was a blessing in disguise. For us as a company, it kind of vindicated us. Like, look, since 2003, we've been trying to tell at least Ghana and Africa and some parts of the world that, look, you can have effective teaching and learning remotely. The pandemic forced them to pay attention. So before the pandemic, the notion was that learners were spending too much time being distracted by social media. Post-pandemic, they were home. So now we're like, okay, society now no more sees that level of online engagement as a distraction to learning because they were able to share ideas.
The first month when the pandemic came in, we treated it like a vacation. We had to look for other ways to learn. The online learning from our school wasn't helping because campus has helped me during the pandemic because you were able to access notes, you could practice more whilst you're at home.
I had opportunity to be in Boston, so I went to Harvard, pitch eCampus at MIT. We got about six angels that committed $30,000 each. That was the momentum with which I was coming back from Boston. That, look, boys, and I'm coming home with $30,000 times 6. Yo, we were ready to move. Then boom, the pandemic hit. Everybody was like, wait and see. Let's wait and see. When the pandemic hit, as a tech company or education, it's easy to raise money. Everybody is now willing to give you money, but they want to wait and see how the economy will play back, then they will give you the money. So it's easier to get commitment, but it's difficult for the money to actually flow from their bank account to yours.
Honestly, it was difficult. So when we first started, we used, you know how the typical startup starts. You start with bootstrapping, and that's what we did a lot. So we did a lot of personal funds. I'd worked somewhere, so I had a little egg nest. A lot of investors didn't want to touch edtech. They want things to happen fast, but we're like, it's really a slow cycle, especially when we're going through schools. So a lot of the investment was really more of family and friends. And then when we decided to start pivoting to include corporates, then we then had, you know, the traction that was keeping the pulse afloat. Now that the pandemic has happened, what has happened is that we are now getting requests from investors. So suddenly they want to see, they suddenly see the progress, they suddenly see the traction that we didn't have before. So it's now, things are changing. We now have a bit of the figures to make them interested, but the prospects are just looking good.
In COVID, we have a growth. I think maybe for myself, I think maybe the people, they don't have time to go in one to get the information what they need with area image. Then they invite us. The people start to understand that we don't have time to move, to locate. Then we can invite this guy that work with these things to take area image, to make these things. Because the people need to get the information of this place to take to stakeholders, to the partner. And these things give us maybe the boom to scale up. When COVID started, we every single day or every single month we was busy. We was working out from Rwanda. And I think these things, in my way, I think that these things helped us to scale up.
We're happy to say that we have continued to improve our app, and our system now works much more better. Because we had a lot of time to really invest into making sure that our system works perfectly well. Our drivers are only allowed to work up to 6 p.m. Before the COVID, our drivers used to earn an average of around 45,000 shillings. Today, as I speak, our drivers earn an average of around 25,000 shillings. So the reduction in the earning of our drivers is still a very big challenge. A lot of people now understand and believe in this online platform.
I think in terms of our strategy, there's been a lot of change to react to the COVID pandemic. I think one of the things we saw during the pandemic was on the buyer side, a lot of buyers wanted food commodities. So we're getting very high volumes of purchase orders for things like soybeans, chili pepper, and granules and the likes. But on the farmer side, that was the trick was the farmers were not able to get the supply because of supply chain disruptions and all. So we had to evolve along the way to make sure that we are able to supply the demand that we have on the platform. Before the pandemic, we tried to control as much as possible across the value chain. I think one of the biggest pivots we did was to build partnerships during the pandemic period. So for instance, it was very difficult getting our inputs on time. And we were like, why we have like lots of farmers on the platform. These farmers are doing over 7,000 acres of production. We could see a fertilizer company and have some agreement with them and use that partnership to help the farmers, which was one way we were able to secure that. We also stopped working on the logistics ourselves. We partnered with DHL to do the freight forwarding out of the country. They already had the core competencies. And so right now, I think after going through all that and building all those partnerships, I think we are able to now deliver world-class services. Before the pandemic, we were still making deliveries to buyers, but there was some like inefficiencies and challenges. But I think being able to outsource part of the work to partners who had core competence across the value chain was one of the biggest things that propelled our growth. And some of these partners have been have been fantastic in the values that we get. So I think the partnerships were one of the biggest things that we did differently. I think now we've gained more clarity, which is good. I think in the beginning stages of a startup, there's a lot of hypotheses that you need to test to be able to be very confident, even as an entrepreneur, that this solution is going to work for the market. But I think after COVID or going through COVID, having done the pivots and stuff, we've gained more clarity to like what direction we need to take the company. And currently we are very ready for growth, and that's what excites me most, is to see the next phase of growth, where we've already started doing some pilots in other countries, Togo and Kenya. But like I think I'm very excited to see how this becomes like the Alibaba or the Amazon of farming in Africa.
People will only go an extra mile of doing great things for you, or make an extra investment to work overtime for you if they feel you appreciate them, if they feel you listen to them, if they feel their energy will add value. I mean, today a lot of people work for companies not because you pay them, but it's because they believe in the vision and the mission that you stand for. So when you have the right people with you, they'll continue to challenge you. And I think today also the narrative has totally changed, that the employees tell the leaders of the company what to do, not the leaders of the company just pouring instructions into the employees and telling them what to do. I think most people have learned to work together, and this is what we continue to do. Anytime we want to do something, we interact with our team, we engage them, we get ideas from them, and in that way they get to own, in that way they get to feel the impact, in that way they have something to celebrate even after they left the company.
Capital flows to those who create value for it. So focus on creating value by solving, problems that communities are facing. I think the youth out there that want to be innovative don't know where to start from. You need to begin looking at the problems in your community. Solve problems that matter.
We are taking on different feedback, and then we are going to add it onto the other updates. So for me, all I'm telling myself is that it's just a gradual process. You can't rush it. You will keep updating, keep getting better with time. One of the things I'll say is, first of all, you just launch it, because it's crazy how I've gotten such a great response from even brands, like notable brands that I never thought I would work with. And that's just because they realized very quickly that their target market was on my platform.
So at times you go to spend a lot of time by understanding people, their personality, how do they view different things. And then you also need to think about how exactly are you going to help this person with their weaknesses, because everyone else has weaknesses in their lives. So how are you going to help them to push with their weaknesses? The next thing is, how are you going to help them sharpen their ideas? Because most of the time we dream a lot, especially as young people. We always have so many ideas, and we can rush into business with them without knowing that some of them may not work. So what I want to do is to build a social media platform. That's what my dream is. And this social media platform is going to be used for leadership and mentorship. And this social media platform will now help people.
I am someone who, like I said, I'm a self-starter. I pick up things as and when I need to. I'm always constantly improving. So for Crado, the way we started, Crado to me is like a growth mindset. We embrace that growth mindset, inclusivity and leadership. That's what embodies Crado. I am one of those leaders that are, let's say, democratic, visionary, democratic, and all that. But I like to give people, I hear the thought of my team members, they contribute, we agree, we decide. But when it comes to making the key decision, I just go ahead with it. But I leave room for people to contribute and not to be all pushy and pushing down my ideas on their throats. Yeah, I am the one driving the business. My co-founder does the technical aspect of it. I have a team of advisors, and we do all our work remotely, online. Everybody and get to contribute however they want to, which means that I need to like let go of the reins when it comes to not micromanaging but getting things done. And personally, I like to just get straight to things, getting things done in time, not pushing project, because I'm coming from a project management background, and time and resources, all of that are critical to any success. So
over time, I can now confidently say I see myself as a mentor, because over time I've received so many requests by young people asking for mentorship opportunity, asking to talk to me about their business ideas, about the challenges that they go through, about their business models, and I've continued to do that. I've done that for many other young people, I think hundreds of them. And I think this is something that makes me proud as a leader in the industry. And I think that is something that we should continue to always learn from. Sharing is literally caring. I see myself as a mentor, and I will continue to share my knowledge with many other young people. I feel a lot of responsibility to help my fellow entrepreneurs. And the reason behind that is because I don't want to be an island. You know, the story of entrepreneurship does not start with me, and it doesn't end with me.
Entrepreneurship is not easy, but when you get one business improving, you help a lot of people. It is the more important to help people. When you help people, you save life, you save family, you save friendship. And in Africa, it is very important to have leaders that help people.